checker, yeah, triple decker, set up shop. I touch the ceiling on my test run legends. All crazy, stupid, I'm the next one. VVS neck canvas. I'm up in Webster wearing Teflon. Your shit stepped on, my shit X on. I bust the pot and got arthritis in my left arm. You see the west side, do my goddamn.
Let's check in and see what's going on. The latest from Planet Insanity. And the biggest thing going on the planet right now is obviously Israel versus Iran. The Sand People, the great Sand People War of 2025. And they're both throwing rocks at each other. These are big, pretty heavy rocks. But that's what we have. It's literally two kids in a sandbox who have beef, they're kids, but historically there's been beef for a long time in the region. The only reason that one of the kids exists is because there's a daddy that pays off some of the other kids around them. But they got two kids, they're in the sandbox and they're just throwing rocks at each other. And there's people, about as big as grains of sand, getting hit in the crossfire. That's what we call collateral damage. Rest in peace, everyone. While your overlords, who are just big babies, throwing rocks at each other. What's the latest update that I've seen? Just going back to like June 19th, June 20th, we saw more fireworks. How's this coming up on 4th of July? We've seen fireworks overseas in the Middle East. It's actually an incredible display to watch. I mean, we're seeing rockets. We've seen like damn near space orbital style rockets coming out. Literally, Iran had one. They reportedly have 200 of them, and they shot what I would consider a warning shot of one, because if they fire 10 of them at the same time, it doesn't look like the Iron Dome could stop them. So it's not a nuke, but I mean, if they fired all 200, if they really do have 200 of them, they could just wipe out the whole country. But so it's really throwing rocks because we don't have boots on the ground in that aspect yet. It's drones, it's missiles, it's all air pretty much. So the most recent update, we saw airstrikes on Tehran's air defense units. So they basically, from what we've seen, don't have strong air defense at this point. And a senior nuclear scientist is no longer breathing anymore. Dr. Syed Mustafa Ahmadi, a senior physicist tied to the Tehran Research Institute. I'm sourcing this from all the major outlets. Let me talk to my son real quick. What's up, T? Yep, until the timer goes off. And then what are you supposed to do after the timer goes off? Yep. So, yeah, I just had to talk to my 6-year-old real quick. And tell him after the timer goes off, he has to do his chores. And that's when I'll end my live and I have to do my chores. But so they're offering physicists now. And this person specialized in nuclear warhead integration, allegedly. Who knows who's really unlived, who's really alive? I mean, if you're Iran, like how are they confirming these deaths? I have no idea what this bro looks like. Who confirmed it? Where's the body? Obviously, if a strike happened, then I would say, oh shoot, you unlived my scientist, and I would ship him off somewhere else. I don't know. I'm just giving you what the reports are. I do not pretend. There's this thing going on where people are, we haven't learned the true lesson from weapons of mass destruction. I'll take a side mission here, including Comic Dave Smith. I don't know why we are arguing about Alex Jones and many others, whether Iran has nuclear weapons or not. You don't know. I don't know. I'm not there. So it's 100. If you want to know if they have nuclear weapons or not, it is 100% based on who you trust. You can't independently verify. So do you trust Mossad? Do you trust Trump, who's just basically a empty shell of a he's like a Zionist prisoner. He's like a Zionist hostage. You trust Trump? You're a clown. So I don't know what they have, and let's talk about what that really means. We don't know, and so we have to ask the question, does it even matter to the position? And maybe it might to yours, but for me, it's literally 100% irrelevant if Iran has nukes or not. Even if you're going to say it's relevant, it'd be better for them to have nukes because that would normalize discussions. This bullshit that we're seeing wouldn't be happening if they had nukes. And maybe they do, but I don't think so if you look at it from that standpoint. If they do have nukes, then we're in a very bad position because you've got two people with nukes, Israel and Iran, shooting at each other. Not good. But if they do, if say they had as many nukes as, obviously, if they have nukes, they don't have as many as Russia or the US. If they had that many, we wouldn't have this problem. Relationships would be normalized. So I actually hope that they do, because this stuff won't go too much further. Just like we don't mess with North Korea. North Korea has nukes. What happened? Trump went across the line and gave Kim dap. So they're trying to off each other's scientists, basically. Israeli jets took out a ton of, reportedly, Iranian air defense crew traveling in a convoy. They were trying to relocate, allegedly, just like you're playing StarCraft or something like that. You're moving the pieces of air defense where you have weaknesses. And so they were trying to relocate it, and they allegedly got taken out. We've seen the alleged videos even on Twitter, on X. It seems like Israel's taking out, at least reportedly, high-level Iranians. And I haven't heard of, not that I want this, I haven't heard of high-level Israelis being taken out. All I've seen from the damage from Israeli buildings are old structures. I kind of looked at it, just did a cursory deep research on it, still looking through it. I don't think I saw a building under 20 years old, younger than 20 years old, that was taken out by Iran. Maybe some of them are, I'm still looking at high military targets. I think maybe one at least was. Some of them were apartment buildings. A lot of the people left. Thankfully, I don't want anybody to be unlived, especially people who have nothing to do really with this conflict, who just pawns. But these are structures, at least one of them was already commissioned to be demolished in Israel. So people are doing this weird thing, which is just so odd, cheering Iranian missiles hitting Israel. Why would I be cheering that? What does that have to do with me? Why would I want to see Iranian missiles land and hit Israel? That's exactly what the Zionist Jews want. They love that. They love war, they love destruction, bloodshed. It doesn't matter if it's their own or not. They love that. And they love more than that, they love to see you cheering for it in an anti-Christian way. I'm seeing videos online, goofy ass videos of people doing mashups over hip hop and other stuff of bombs hitting Israel and little goofy dancing and stuff like that. Just despicable. That's what this antichrist country, it's not a secular country. The country is created literally to be some type of retort against Christ. That's what Israel is. And for you to be cheering, whoever you are, videos of bombs hitting buildings in Israel is literally what the country's there for. So congratulations if you're cheering that. We've got buffoons on all sides. But Iran says that there's over 400 dead, 3,000 injured. The US says What does the US say to that? I haven't heard any statement from the US saying like that's not good. Obviously, Trump is basically saying total surrender. They're basically cheering it on. How's that for the MAGA movement? Cheering on death in Gaza, cheering on death in Iran. And I understand this. I might understand how your goofy ass might fall into the victim of, oh, this is Iran this is Israel getting bombed by Iran. Who cares? I can see how your goofy ass could fall into that because Israel doesn't care about Gaza and Trump doesn't care about Gaza. Trump does goofy videos about building casinos and hotels on the dead bodies of women and children. I understand how bad that is, that it might want you to lead to, oh, look, some Israelis got unlived. Let's cheer. But that just means you're lost. You don't have faith, and you're just a complete, you're a pawn being spun around, and you don't know where you are. Why are we, even if you're negotiating with Iran, why can't MAGA or Trump say 400 dead, 3,000 injured? That's not good. I don't know. Is that a hard thing to say? But no, there's nothing. I mean, of course, nobody from MAGA gives a damn about that. They probably just like ringing them up like sonic rings. Bling, bling, bling. That's basically what the Make America Great movement has become. It's worse than the George Bush. I was alive for them. You can see gray hair. That means I've been around. I wear it proudly. So some of you youngsters, I'll be your uncle. I was around during that time. I was around your age during some of that. It wasn't like this. It wasn't even this bad. So when I say Trump and when I say Trump is the worst president of my lifetime, hands down, one of the worst presidents ever. I mean, quickly, obviously, Woodrow Wilson was worse, but from the standpoint of taking good-hearted people and turning them into basically mental Jew slaves, this is pretty bad. It's up there with Woodrow Wilson. It's that bad, what we're seeing here with the Trump administration. Cheering on death and destruction. That's what we've become. That's what we've become, or I'm not a part of that anymore. That's what you've become. Just shameful. The Iranian Red Crescent says that they've had disaster crews responding to over 70 unique strike sites. Entire apartment blocks leveled in southwest Tehran and parts of Isfahan. One 12-story residential tower collapsed completely. 24 civilians were pulled out dead and another 19 missing. Iran claims 3 of their hospitals got hit. And we saw the hospital wing that got hit in Israel. I'm not cheering for anything to happen. I'm just looking into like it was an old wing. I believe that one was commissioned to be rebuilt as well. I'm not, I don't know what that means. I'm just throwing it out there. It is, I should go into that deep dive if I'm going to talk about it like this, but these are old buildings that were hit by Israel. And we all know with the Hannibal directive, Israel couldn't care less about the lives of its own citizens. So who's going to rebuild that? Obviously you and I, American taxpayers, are going to add on more debt, pay taxes to rebuild everything over there, whether it's a loan that's forgiven or whatever else. I don't think Israel's shedding a tear over anything that's happened. That's kind of my point on that. You haven't taken out, again, I'm not calling for that, don't want that. I'm looking at the scorecard. Aren't we watching this like a video game now? That's what the TikTokers are doing, controlled by these algorithms. Oh, this will go viral if I kind of make it like a video game and put a goofy ass song over bombs flying. You're just neocon. You're just like a Gen Z neocon, basically. You realize that, right? If you're making a goofy song about Iran shooting missiles and knocking down buildings in Israel, you're a goofy ass neocon. You're a neocon that doesn't even know you're a neocon. Just the worst type. So if you're lost in doing that, I think it's time to pause and figure out where you are. But my point is, looking at it objectively, I don't. Why would Israel? What strikes has Iran? If anybody's following this, what strikes has Iran done that Israel would be concerned about? Please tell me. I haven't seen it. What a person has been unlived? What building has gone down that Israel's concerned? Like, oh, I don't know if we're going to be able to build this one back up. I'm not done with that research. I always leave room to be wrong. Say that every live. So convince me if you know otherwise. I haven't seen it yet, though. Israel also whacked the Weizmann Institute of Science, and I don't know how to pronounce these words. And actually, I don't care. I don't have respect for Iran or Israel. Revovote. That's a top tier research lab working on physics, biology, and cancer. Perfect place to hit if you're trying to win a Nobel Peace Prize. How about Trump saying, I got peace over there in the Congo. And who were the Congo beefing with it? Was it Rwanda? I don't even know. How about Trump saying, I want a Nobel Peace Prize? You want a Nobel Peace Prize for, I don't even know the details of it, but let's just assume he's accurate that he negotiated peace over there so that the child laborers who, this is a heated coffee mug, probably a kid from Congo made the battery in this. Trump negotiated peace so a kid from Congo with his bare hands, like a 6-year-old, they just came down, my 6-year-old came out, 6-year-old in Congo, some dark-skinned, darker than me, some purple-skinned 6-year-old in Congo can make the battery so my coffee stays hot for an extra 30 minutes. He negotiated peace and wants the Nobel Peace Prize for that. For allowing our literal slaves that have the batteries in the camera, batteries in my Mac Studio, batteries in the Podcaster Pro, batteries in the phone, batteries in the Tesla, at least the long range ones. I think they got the cobalt out. They mine cobalt, if you don't know. If you don't know, like all of a lot of our devices, iPhone, military bombs, the bombs don't get guided without cobalt. It takes a lot. The batteries don't use a lot of cobalt, but the technology without the cobalt's too expensive. They're still working on it. They are trying to get out of it. Tesla has gotten out of the cobalt for the lower range batteries. But if you want a battery that you don't have to charge, if you're going on a road trip every couple hours or whatever, you're going to have cobalt in it. Guess what? You've got a 6-year-old mining the cobalt in 95-degree heat for $1 a day, slave doing it for you, which is that's our life. That's what we have. If you don't want to be a slave, don't get conquered. But my point is, don't ask for a Nobel Peace Prize when you stop the slaves from fighting because your goal is to make the slaves more efficient. You've got a 12-year-old digging tunnels with their bare fucking hands to get cobalt so you can stream on the internet and you can drop bombs in Iran and you want a Nobel Peace Prize. Congratulations, Maggie. You're other than that, you're doing wonderful. You're such a great, intelligent movement. It's a bunch of fucking buffoons is what you've become. Voice of Steven, morning. Here you go, Steven. The homie Steven's on. Voice of Steven. What's up? Man, he is killing it, going live every day. And doing the biblical segments on Voice of Steven. Let's take a segment break. I haven't shouted out Steven enough. Morning, sir. Morning, Christian. Steven, always the voice of reason. The voice of Steven is the voice of reason. The homie Steven says, this is the only reason to still like Trump, actually. At least he keeps Africa enslaved. What am I going to say? I'd like my coffee hot. What am I going to say? Keep digging, slave. I'm grateful not to be one. I'm not. Am I promoting it? I don't know what I am with it, but I'll just say I love technology. It's just the truth. And I'm not proud of it, but I have to tell the truth about it. It's a part of life. It really is. And we have to watch out. I know this sounds crazy, but we might become slaves too, just a different type of slave. If you can't out loud say that Israel is a fake country, in some part, you're a mental slave. So we're all slaves in different manners. Just because I have a damn cell phone and a hot coffee doesn't mean my life is better. In the larger speak, I'm grateful for what I have, but doesn't mean, biblically or as far as Christianity goes, it does not mean that my life is better than them dying in the Congo to mine 16 ounces of cobalt or whatever. Christian says those lithium and cobalt mines seem really primitive, and I'm sure kids shouldn't be there. Yeah, I'll say so. I think that's an understatement. Yeah, I wouldn't want my kid there. Yeah, but that's how the world works. There's winners and losers. And I could go and say it's no different than climate change. I could go and say, I'm going to live off the grid and give up all my devices, which would be, I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. I'll let you know that it's not going to change anything, and somebody will be happy to enslave you. So that's kind of the update there. Some of the more stuff that I was going to talk about, there's also things going on in Israel. Power got knocked out, shut down some of the rail system. 3,800 people had to leave their homes. Iran's not, there's serious damage don't get me wrong, there is damage being done in Israel. It's not one to one, but there's damage. Don't let anybody, there's a lot of pro Iran, and I think it's no different than Laura Loomer doing the goofy ass pro Israel propaganda. It's a lot of pro Iran propaganda. Well, Iran's getting their ass kicked if they're telling the truth. I don't know if these top people, have you seen how many top people in Iran have been unlived by Israel? I did a deep on that. I will see if I can find it real quick so I don't stall the live. I did a deep. I was like, well, what's this 101 with who's being unlived over there? Iran generals, and I haven't heard of any on the other side generals being unlived. Have you? So I do have a quick I believe I have it here. Do I know? Yep, I do have it here. Iranian military and IRGC commanders, Major General, Chief of Staff of Iran's armed forces hit and unlived in a strike on June 13. Major General Hossein Salami, Commander-in-Chief of the IRGC, unlived on June 13th. This is to Iran. Major General Gholam Ali Rashid, unlived June 13th. I'm not even going back to even before October 7th. I can't pronounce these goofy ass names. Amir Ali Hajiastid, head of the IRGC Aerospace Force. Davud Shikishan, gone. Gholam Azeri Hamarabi, bye-bye. Mehded Arakmi, deputy head of operations, no longer breathing. Hassan Mohakik, deputy head of IRGC intelligence, June 15th. Bye-bye. Mohammed Kasami, senior IRGC intelligence commander. You aren't here anymore. Ali Shahamani, leader, Kaktem Ad Albani Central HQ, killed June 17th. You're gone too. I'm not done yet. Top nuclear scientist, Faridan Abbasi, nuclear engineer. June 13th, Israel hit drones and activated them. You're gone. Hasid Borji, Asmani Zoraki Darahti. I'm not making it, I just can't pronounce them. I'm not making this up. I'll give you the link to the deep research with the sources so you know I am not making this up. I'll put it in the chat. What's his name has good, like, this actually isn't even a deep research, which is not good because the deep research is more accurate, but I think this is accurate. I'm putting that in the chat just so you know. I just can't pronounce the names, but I'm not making this up. So these are the I'm not done yet. We're not even going back. Top nuclear scientists, still Akbar Mosaddegh, Israeli targeting Iran's nuclear scientists. So they're all gone. That's just those are just from June 13th. Let me double check. Those are just from June 13th and June 15th and June 17th. So while don't go online and watch all the, and I'm not against them. A lot of people I like doing it. I they're just in a different place than me. I don't understand it. Like Iran's bombing and doing something. They're not doing anything. Just like Russia. Russia talks a lot. What has Russia really done since they just got embarrassed? Like one of the most embarrassing things ever. They hit drones in a truck and took it out, and just right out in the open took out some of their nuclear deterrent air fleet. What's happened since? I don't want anything to happen, but this is just factually, what have you done? You talk a lot, but you don't do anything. The same with Iran. You send bombs, but what are they doing? What are the bombs really doing? Maybe Israel's hiding that, and maybe Iran's faking it, and none of those people died. But publicly, they're saying that those people died. So publicly, you haven't done anything. I don't want to hear about if the U.S. gets involved. Of course, I don't want the U.S. involved, but you don't have much. The Tucker, I haven't talked about the Tucker Ted Cruz interview, and I don't really have much to add to it that most of the major people have said. So I kind of am going on a different route. So you might say, well, why would I be talking about Tucker? Really, it's more because I'm going to talk about Tucker. Really, it's more because that's an under discussed topic of this. That's the only reason why I'm focusing on Tucker. Ted Cruz is a clown. I used to, believe it or not, I used to like Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was, I was a fan of, even though I wouldn't consider myself like a Republican at the time, I was probably more Obama, believe it or not, when I was listening to Rush Limbaugh. But if you don't know, Rush Limbaugh absolutely loved Ted Cruz. I almost want to say he loved Ted Cruz like a child, because Ted Cruz had that mix of Tea Party, fake, but Tea Party populism, loving Israel, and super, really bright, intelligent guy. Ted Cruz in 2016, Rush Limbaugh in 2016 I think he would have given up his fortune, and he made a lot of money as a radio host. He's a legend, a living legend, rest in peace. One of the best neocons of all time, but just a great radio host. Great trash talker. He would talk about iPhones and technology a lot and played great music. He liked Motown music, believe it or not, if you didn't listen to Rush. He loved good music, loved Michael Jackson. He would have, in my opinion, given up, most of his fortune as long as he could live okay. If he would give it, he would have given it all up if that meant Ted Cruz beat Donald Trump in 2016. That's how much he loved Ted Cruz. And I saw the good traits in Ted Cruz as well. Ted Cruz is a very smart guy. What you see in these people, Tulsi, Ted Cruz, Charlie Kirk, when you have to be Zionist, Steven Crowder, it forces you to defend things that make you look stupid, but these aren't stupid people. That's why you can kind of see Nick Fuentes making a big gap in authenticity, intelligence, because he doesn't have to play those games because he doesn't play those games. He's made the decision not to. So he is smarter than those people, but the gap isn't as big as you might think. Charlie Kirk is a really bright guy, but for example, Ted Cruz doesn't really believe when the Bible says Israel that it means the state that was created in 1948. He does not believe that. I would bet everything I own on that. He's not. That's just stupidity. Nobody believes that organically. Maybe some stupid people do, but he's not stupid. He's part of the group that manipulates stupid people to believe that. So I understand all the problems with Ted Cruz, even though I used to kind of like Ted Cruz in that way for him being smart and maybe some things we would agree on. But my thing is Tucker. Tucker Carlson, I've been having more and more problems with Tucker. And it's funny, Steven was on here, and Steven told me when I was like, oh, you don't like Tucker? This is years ago. We said, like, oh, yeah, I like Tucker Carlson. And, just like a lot of people do, or did at least. And Tucker says a lot of things I might agree with. But I slowly saw problems with him that Steven had, he's way ahead. He's like years ahead of me in this thing. But I didn't see him just like Tim Pool. He saw problems with Tim Pool way before I saw problems with Tim Pool. That's why you should follow Steven. If you want to know what my takes will be in 5 years, follow Voice of Steven. But I'm slowly getting there. And I started thinking, well, there's certain things that Tucker doesn't talk about. And I like Dave Smith, but honestly, even though I like Dave Smith, agree with him on a lot, he's in that same lane as Tucker. That's why they get together and have that goofy kind of chemistry where they don't really challenge each other at all. And even Voice of Steven and I agree on a lot and kind of challenge each other in certain things. But they don't even have that. They don't even do that. They're just in that same lane because they serve the same purpose. The purpose is to rally the dissidents, but make sure that they don't question Israel. Dave Smith supports Israel. Tucker supports Israel. And there's certain things that Tucker won't talk about. That's my biggest takeaway from the Tucker interview, because nobody's talking about it. We're watching two people who are equally as goofy. Again, don't get me wrong. Tucker had some great questions. He had some bad questions, bad faith questions. You get somebody on a video and you start asking, what's the population of Iraq or Iran? What is that? What does that have to do with anything? If you want to know what it is, bitch, Google it and then talk about what it means. That's bullshit. But I understand, watching the whole video, I stand on that. But I watched the whole interview. It was fascinating. But watching the whole video, Ted Cruz was dishonest. They started out, I don't think Ted Cruz knew what it was going to be. So he kind of got set up. Because to me, if I bring on somebody who they started and said, if I remember correctly, that they're friends, if I bring on somebody who we've been friendly before, I don't say, I haven't had them on, but all kinds of people maybe I've had on the channel before, maybe we're different on the issue now, and I set them up with gotcha questions. That's bitch shit. That's bullshit. I'm not bringing on someone who maybe we don't know each other that well or whatever, but we've never been, really had any type of argument on the live before. And I bring them on and I try to say, oh, what's this and this? So like gotcha questions. That's some bullshit. Or even if I don't do the gotcha questions, I come on and I'm kind of contentious with them on a topic. To me, that's some bullshit. Say, hey, we're in a different place. Do you want to, it might, whatever you want to do, but prepare them for that. Do you want to have the conversation? Obviously would like to have the conversation, not going to do it. Just like you see Nick Fuentes is not, even Andrew Wilson, they don't do that type of stuff. They don't do gotcha stuff. They will match the energy. Andrew Wilson, perfect on that. Even though I disagree with him on some things, of course, but Andrew Wilson won't go ad hominem, and even on a contentious debate, unless somebody else is. And I'm bringing up Voice of Steven because he was in the chat. I think he's still in the chat. he could do the debate bro circuit. I talked to him about that. If he wanted to, I don't know if it would benefit him or what, but if he wanted to do the Andrew Wilson debate bro circuit, he's obviously that knowledgeable. He could do that. It is a brutal circuit, but I mean, I'd love to see Destiny debate Voice of Steven. And I think actually, I think highly of, believe it or not, I think highly, Destiny's content's really good right now. I was down on him for a while, but his content is really intelligent, whether you agree or not. You can't go into the debate with Destiny and not know what the hell you're talking about. What's up? Christian's like, by the way, what's the population of Denver? I have no idea. And that's the other thing about it too. So Ted Cruz gets the gotcha questions. And I understand why Tucker did it, because it had led up to that moment where Tucker had asked some frank questions of Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz didn't answer like we're friendly. He answered like a bullshit politician, lying and spinning. And then I believe it was before that. I forget the order. I think it was before. Was it before the gotcha questions when basically Ted Cruz called him anti-Semitic? And Tucker was absolutely right to say that. That's why I respect Laura Loomer. Maybe I'll talk about it in a second. Laura Loomer, if Laura Loomer thinks you're anti-Semitic, she'll call you anti-Semitic. So this bitch Ted Cruz tries to intimate to Tucker's face that he's anti-Semitic, and Tucker's perfectly right to say, bitch, if you think I'm anti-Semitic, why don't you say it? Why are you acting like a bitch? So it had gotten to that point, so that's why they kind of, had that back and forth. I have no idea what the population of Denver is. What does that take any? That's a great example. Does that change any take? Maybe if it does change the take, well, you tell me what the population is. Tell me why my take should change. But wait, Voice. He says he likes Alex Jones now. I despise Alex Jones now, but I have kind of held back because he platforms Nick Fuentes. So I have not gone full. I did do that segment when I said Alex Jones, half a man that he used to be physically and mentally, literally and figuratively, because he lost weight, because he went on that Ozempic. He's working out now like he used to. But I have not really talked about Alex Jones too much. He's making it really hard talking about how the Mossad told him something and he's trusting it. But he platforms Nick Fuentes. That means something for me. Voice of Steve. Everybody's now they're in the chat saying, if you want to fix poverty, but you don't know the exact number of broke niggas in the world, then how do you? That actually would be a fair retort for somebody like Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was a little flustered. He's not usually that flustered. He didn't expect that, I don't think. So that probably ends their friendship. At one point in the interview, Ted Cruz was like, he didn't say this, but I almost felt like Ted Cruz is like, I might have to put hands on you if we don't lower the temperature. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. He said, he kept saying like let's lower the temperature. And Tucker's like, okay, but you call me anti-Semitic. I'm paraphrasing now. But you call me anti-Semitic, the temperature is not going to lower until you apologize. He didn't say that, but that's if Ted Cruz had apologized for that, then it would have lowered the temperature. But he didn't. I don't remember him apologizing for that at all. In fact, he kind of said he didn't say it. But my impression when that moment happened, it was like Ted Cruz, like, I might need to put hands on you pretty soon. But with respect to both men, they handled it like men and ended it and had the full discussion. They didn't have to stop it. So respect to Ted Cruz for that. But Tucker Carlson came out with Donald Trump during the UFC. At the same time he was doing that, there were people, and the leading one was Nick Fuentes. Everybody's talking about Nick Fuentes now. Why? Because he's the leading anti-neocon out there. He's the leading Christian or Catholic, however you want to phrase it. I consider Catholics Christian, but I don't even know. There's a weird divide there that I'm seeing. But he's the leading Christian out there, like as far as like a Christian that doesn't believe in Zionism. And I don't really consider those Christians, with all due respect. So he's the leading one out there. And during that time, he was criticizing Trump while Tucker Carlson was walking out with Trump in the UFC. Like giddy about it too. So Tucker Carlson sneak disses Nick, but he's too afraid to have a conversation with Nick. Is there anybody else that Tucker Carlson has sneak dissed or openly dissed that he hasn't invited to have a conversation with? I don't know. Maybe there is. I don't know. Ben Shapiro, they've had beef. Tucker said, I believe Tucker said will have a conversation with Ben Shapiro. Why wouldn't you have one with Nick? Where am I getting with this? It matters because Nick is the biggest voice out there. And Tucker seems to be not all the way where Nick is, but in that same direction. So if Ted Cruz is so bad as a politician, which he is, how does that change? It changes by platforming other voices. I mean, that's what Tucker does. I mean, what else would Tucker do to affect that change? Maybe he could get into the PAC game if he's not the political action committee, but his main thing is doing segments, and he doesn't do his segments like Fox anymore, which I miss. Those were way better to me than the interviews, but he doesn't have Nick on. So he'll have comic Dave Smith on, he'll have Marta Maid on, Daryl Cooper, or all these different people, Alex Jones. Isn't it odd that he wouldn't have Nick Fuentes on if he was real about true opposition to Ted Cruz? So I think it's clear that's not his ultimate goal. His goal might be opposition, but not really opposition, positioning himself to be the most populist on the right. And he's not really a right guy, but that's the wing that you need to be on. He's not going to fit in the left. He's had Pete Leftists on, like Jimmy Dore and others. But Tucker fits in the right lane. And he has to fit in the right lane because he talks about replacement theory. So he's trying to corner the market. Who's the number one challenger to Tucker's market in a post-Trump world? If you're an influencer and even politically, well, it's Nick Fuentes, obviously. Candace Owens maybe a little bit. I don't know where they are now, but they've been friendly in the past, so it's not like she's really a threat to him. I haven't heard her challenge Tucker. Maybe I haven't followed everything with Candace lately, but Candace has been going after Lori Loomer, which is perfectly understandable. She wouldn't go after Tucker like that. Even if she has challenged Tucker, never like that. She hasn't even challenged Charlie Kirk like that I've seen. And I haven't seen them interact anymore because they've probably in a different place. Who else would Tucker and Dave Smith? Dave Smith's everywhere. Notice that, from Piers Morgan to this debate to that debate. I've heard that nigga debate Gaza, Israel like 10 times. I'm like, bruh, I'm done. I'm good. Dave, I'm not against Dave still. I'm going to call balls and strikes. Dave, I'm good, bruh. I don't need to see you debate Israel, Gaza anymore. We're good. I mean, I'll speak for myself. Like, his arguments before he brings the arguments up. I mean, you can learn from it. It's great. Dave is recall off the top of the head, really knowledgeable. Don't get me wrong. I just don't need another one. Why do I need another Israel-Gaza debate from Dave Smith? Please, bro, stop. Why wouldn't Dave Smith have a conversation with Nick Fuentes again? It's the same reason, guys. Dave Smith went on with Joe Rogan. Why? And he sneak dissed Nick Fuentes again on Joe Rogan. He went on with the Jew, Andrew Schultz. Why? To sneak diss Nick Fuentes. Not talked, but he hasn't responded to me. But I added Dave. I might have added Robbie too, guys that I've liked, still like. I'm just like, bro, what is this? What does gatekeeping, kind of board checking in hockey, Nick Fuentes out of the discussion? What does that have to do with anything? Why are you doing that? Well, that's because you're cornering the market. Candace Owens, remember Candace Owens had the live with the debate with Dave Smith. It was on Nick Fuentes' birthday. I think that was a year ago. I think his birthday's coming up, maybe. I forget, because I haven't seen people celebrate it, so it's probably coming up soon in the summer. And They didn't even, Nick was like, I was available. I would have came on. Didn't even invite him. Why? They don't have to. I'm just, that's irrelevant to my question. I'm not saying you have to invite Nick Fuentes. My question is, why didn't you? This is a simple question. You don't have to answer it either, but is that not a legit question? The live would have been blown up bigger. The discussion would have been better. Tell me why. There's nothing organic that I can see as to why you wouldn't invite him if he was willing to come on. So that's what you get. Candace Owens has Ian Carroll fill in for her. Another, oh, I love Israel, but let me talk about this other stuff. Notice they're all like that. These are the dissidents in the alt media. Why does every dissident in the alt media love Israel? Thomas Massey. Oh, I got no problem with Israel. Why? Tucker Carlson in the interview with Ted Cruz. Basically, I love Israel. He went with I got Jewish friends. Well, what? Why? Why do we need to do that? Who cares if you have Jewish friends or not? You have to protect Israel because you can't go at Israel without getting to the Jewish question, which is way deeper than the Israel or Zionist question. The Jewish question, in my opinion, literally starts with what is a Jew? And then that gets into the ethnic race realism discussion. That gets into really deep, heavy stuff. Way heavier than even the Zionist discussion. In my opinion, that's why you have to gate the Israel discussion. You can't, because Israel is a Jewish ethno-national country, nationalist country. So you can't question Israel without saying, okay, they're not a white country, they're a Jew country. So what does that mean? I think that's I think that's the big reason why you have to gatekeep that conversation. Take care, Stephen. Appreciate you coming in as always. I've been catching a little bit of the lives. I haven't been able to chat because I'm at work, but on break, listening to Stephen. Going live every day. Do you guys know how hard it is to go live every day? To be pumped up about the topics, to be knowledgeable about the topics. It's not an easy thing. You kind of have to live this. That's why faith is so important, in my opinion. When you live it, it really gets deep. It gets deep really quickly. So there's basically a MAGA civil war going on. And I think the face of the MAGA civil war is Laura Loomer. My take on Laura Loomer is complicated. It's like a complicated relationship status. The MAGA movement has hit a new low. I'm not changing that. And it has nothing to do with the left. It's not because of the deep state, not directly. It's because of the influencer state. And you can say indirectly because of the money Brink brought in, but let's just talk about the influencers. Laura Loomer, who's a great journalist. She's so good. People accuse her of being Mossad. Like, that's how good she is. And I don't know, maybe she could be. I don't think she is. I think she's just really good at her job. Laura Loomer is very complicated because people will bring up things that Laura Loomer maybe technically got wrong or misconstrued. And I have to remind them, she's a Zionist Jew. She's subversive. Even though I like her, that's what she is. She's weaponizing information. So is she a journalist in the truest sense? When she wants to be, yeah, she is. But she's also an activist. So when she brings up the, Casey DeSantis, I think that's her name, DeSantis' wife, the cancer stuff, and all these other things that are, I don't know where we're at with those. Maybe she's not perfect on the reporting, and that's kind of the point. So let's talk about that first before we get into the MAGA Civil War. Laura Loomer talked about Tucker Carlson, and she said, basically, Tucker Carlson, you are paid off by Qatar, I believe. She launched this attack on Tucker Carlson, accusing him of being paid off by Qatar because he criticized Trump's Iran war position. She said, and brought receipts that weren't really receipts, but she's stretching them to be receipts, saying that Qatar gave him $200,000 to do a softball interview with their prime minister. and now he's working for Islamist interests, is what Laura Loomer said. And we don't do that with Jews. We don't do that with Ben Shapiro. We don't do that with all these Zion. We don't do that with Tim Pool. We don't do if it's money with Russians, it's potentially a problem. If there's potential money, I don't know, alleging or anything from Israelis, oh, it's no problem. Even though they should be reported under FARA, that came up in the Tucker interview. Laura Loomer doesn't bring that up. So why is she bringing up the Tucker Carlson stuff? Well, Candace and others, she's bringing it up to change the topic off of the substance of the issue. The Tucker interview was very damning for not only neocons, but MAGA is neocons now. Zion neocons, MAGA shills. It was very damaging for them. So she is a big part of online. She shifts the energy. You have big accounts. You got the company, the Tucker Carlson CEO company, Neil Patel. He's literally a Patel. It's either the Jews or the Patels. It's either the Steins, it's either the Goldsteins or the Pajits. And so the Pajit that runs Tucker's company replied to Laura Loomer with a serious reply. And I'll be honest, I think Nick Fuentes and the Groypers are making a little bit of a mistake there as well in replying to these alleged, like they're saying that bots are boosting up Nick Fuentes, which is, I don't know for sure, but from what I see, looks like absolute bullshit. The sources are not trustworthy. What you do is you reply with something that is uncomfortable for the person who is bringing up. These are big accounts. It works for anybody. But if you have a big account like Laura Tucker and Neil Patel, what other last names do they have? Pajit Patel, whatever, Paj, Neil Paj, the CEO of Tucker's company, you don't reply trying to debunk the receipts. You reply with whether it's true or not. Same with the Michelle Obama stuff. You reply with, Laura, are you a man or not? Laura, is there a man that you've been with that can confirm that you have lady parts? Because I'm seeing that you look like a man that converted. Before we get to the receipts you have, how about that? Do you have receipts on that? She doesn't obviously want that amplified. So the conversation's over. She's not going to reply. She's not going to quote tweet. It's done. So I had ad hominem in reply to her Qatar receipts would have been more effective than, here's why, here's the books on the foreign trips and we didn't get paid and it went to this account. You just took the conversation off of the substance of Trump's basically warmongering onto now Laura's like, no, here's why the receipts are right. Oh, no, here's why the receipts are wrong. And you're just amplifying the receipts, whether they're right or wrong. That's what we did on the Groper War 2. See, people said, oh, the Groper War 2 is this or that. I would reply with some great creator did a meme like with Star Wars or whatever, clowning Trump or Vance. And at that time, it was actually a pro-Trump movement, but and the conversation's over. Then I would reply with another meme and they're like, that's not going to work. I'm just amplifying memes of the Groper War 2. And that's over. It's done. Quickly. You don't legitimize this stuff. The accusations that there are bots boosting up Nick Fuentes, that's ad hominem. If there are bots, say there's bots boosting up Nick Fuentes, what does that have to do with the substance of what he's saying? It's an ad hominem. You don't do that for the Jews. Are there Jew bots? I would guarantee you there are. So that's how you handle that, in my opinion. But here's why I say it's complicated. Laura Loomer is a pit bull. I respect that. I have nothing but respect for that. Tim Pool is mealy mouth. I just like that term. I've been using it a lot. I don't know where I got it. I'm just old school. Mealy mouth, meaning you say a lot, but you don't really say anything. You don't really have a take on anything. What's Matt Walsh's take on the Ted Cruz Tucker interview? The hardest take that I saw him have was that Tucker Carlson tried to press up Ted Cruz on if Iran really tried to eliminate Trump, then why don't we nuke Iran? That was his hardest hitting take that I saw. So these people are just clowns. So Laura Loomer, she comes out, I'm a Zio. Yeah, am I a Zio? Yeah, am I Zio? Do I like babies in Gaza being eliminated from Earth? Yeah, I like that. That's Laura Loomer just flat out say it. Yeah, I like that. She's like, yeah, it makes me wet or hard. I don't know which one she is, but whichever one she is, it either makes her hard or wet. She would admit that. She has no problem with that. And you have to respect that. You know where you stand with her. I've asked her direct questions. She directly answers. Who else does that? Charlie Kirk doesn't do that. Name your favorite influencers. They don't answer your questions. They look at you like you're a scrub, like you're slime. Laura Loomer's like, bitch, yeah, I like Gaza like this. But yeah, I want Gaza to be a parking lot. Yeah, I want the freedom flotilla to sink. Yeah. Okay, what do you want to do? Either you agree or disagree. Like, not much you can say. I actually have had those interactions with Laura. Like, okay, I respectfully disagree. I mean, where do you go from there? And that I like that. I respect that. If everybody were like that, we'd be in a better position. Now she's not perfect because I don't think she's admitting that she's a warmonger. I don't think she's admitting that she's a neocon, but she'll basically admit she's a neocon indirectly. Now she's taking on this role that is embarrassing as a tattletale to who? I don't know. I'm going to take receipts of anyone who's criticized Donald Trump. That's what MAGA's become. MAGA's become, I'm going to take receipts on anybody who criticizes Trump. It's gay. It's Pride Month-esque. It's feminine. It's tattletale behavior. Tattletale to who? Bitch, I posted it publicly. That's the point of posting it. Go tell anybody you want. Share, like, comment, subscribe. But at least she says it. She'll name names. She'll at people. I saw the Dilley meme team general, Brendan Dilley, saying, look at all the creators who criticized Trump and then changed their mind. Who are you talking about? Why are you talking like this? I thought you were the general of the meme wars. You can't even name somebody's name? Laura Loomer will at the person. You can't even name the name. What have you become? What are you afraid of? At least she is who she is. You see how it's, am I wrong? Is it not complicated? Is it not a complicated situation with Laura Loomer? She at Tucker Carlson. She doesn't hide. She at Candace Owens. She replies to Candace Owens. Candace Owens barely replies to Nick. She barely replies. I mean, she will go at people, but you see, she won't go at certain people because she doesn't want to amplify certain people. Laura Loomer, you know, obviously she was formerly pro America First, but she will reply to Nick. She's more real. I'm sorry. She's just one of the better ones out there. But the real divide, and let me just double check, see how much time I have. The real divide is religious. And that was one of the big things that came from that Ted Cruz interview, was the real true divide. Let me take a look what happened. My wife texted me randomly, Pat Riley has looked the same age for 30 years. Why? What the hell? I agree, but how is she talking about Pat Riley all of a sudden? This is a random text I just saw. Maybe he was on the TV. She's at the gym or something. Maybe it's on the TV at the gym or something. But let me see how much time I have before I have to start doing the mundane chores of life. I have at least a couple segments left. The real divide is the divide that Ted Cruz that brought up, and Tucker did a great job of talking about. I am very young still in my biblical journey. Let me tell you, I have to preface this because when you talk about something, people try to assume that you think you're some type of expert. My biblical journey really started in circa 97 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Somebody knocked on my dorm room, and I didn't know really anything about Christianity, or I mean, I went to Sunday school, I wasn't really any denomination or anything, like, I still am not. The denomination thing is really strange to me. But I understand why, because you wanna be my understanding is you wanna be with a group of people that interpret. Is this correct that the denomination is really you want to be associated with, I mean, it's just like a biblical gang. Somebody who's more knowledgeable than me tell me, I need to have Carlos on. I need to have the homie Carlos. Carl, I'm gonna hit you up, Carlos. We now that I'm a little bit more in this, and obviously, with for nothing but respect for the homie Prime Animations, um, that dude puts his heart, blood, sweat, and tears into his work, and it's paying off. I told him he was gonna get millions of views on his movie, and he has. Um, I have to get him on to get a good perspective on there. And of course, might be wrong is great, and there's so many people. But obviously, voice of Steven. But I never forget it. I don't remember the dude's name. I'm really bad with I forget even the name of my roommate. Was it Dylan or something like that? But somebody just knocked on the door, and what do you call it? Are they evangelists? I don't know what they're called. He didn't come on knock on the door on it with any denomination or anything like that. And I don't remember if he was a Zionist one or not. I didn't even think about the Zionist issue at that time. We didn't even get into that. I remember. I think we got through all of Genesis and then maybe a little bit more. But he knocked on the door, and he was just, I forget how he was just like, I'm with this church or whatever. What are these people who do that with the church? And he was trying to get me to come to the church. But I was like, yeah, I'm not really a big church guy, but I am interested just from a knowledge standpoint of the Bible. I forget what version it was, which is very important. But and I basically was like, if you don't want to come to the church, I can bring the church here to you. When are you free? This is, I had free time on. I think it was on Wednesdays. I don't know why I remember that. He was like, hey, I can come through. I'll bring not the church, kind of like the church to you. We can read the Bible and talk about it together. And I was like, yeah, I'm good with that. And for at least a couple months every week, literally went through the Bible. Very difficult. It's very helpful, and there was no Chat GBT at the time. The Bible is just a really tough read. I mean, everybody knows that, right? I mean, maybe I don't know. It's really, really hard to read from multiple standpoints. Which version, the language in it, the context in it, the background in it. Are you taking it literally or not? I mean, it's just so much. And then if you're reading it and you don't know what that really means, you don't have the context. I mean, you literally could read a verse and then spend 30 minutes trying to figure out what the verse really meant. Like one verse. It's really dense. I mean, the greatest piece of literature. I don't know. It's the greatest piece of literature out there, obviously. I mean, it's like a drama too. But that's kind of where I got my initial knowledge. Between then and I would say since October 7th, or maybe even before that, because remember I was saying crazy stuff like is God a woman? I always bring that up to Carlos. He laughs. He's so gracious, man. He could just completely eviscerate or clown me for that take, but he knew I was authentically just questioning things like like a baby. So that was even like 2022. So slowly between 2022 and 97, not much biblical stuff, maybe a little bit, not a lot. And then now AI has really helped me just piece by piece. Obviously, you cannot be an expert, but you can start with a passage and kind of expand the context to a certain level and then keep doing that. And you don't have the full picture, but you're opening up not the fog of war, but the fog of meaning in the Bible or this chapter, or what does Israel mean? So I'm more in that space and doing it. And I do have enough to be able to say certain things confidently with my interpretation based on expanding that. with help from, I would not be able to do it without AI because it's just quicker. You can just, AI is just no different than a Google search, but it's better and quicker, more interactive, remembers where you're positioned. It's just better. So it's not, I know people are looking at ChatGPT like it's negative. It's just a tool. It's like, it would be like looking at a hammer and saying, why are you using a hammer? What do you mean? Why am I using a hammer? You could use, I guess, a shoe or some other hard. You could use a rock if you want. Go ahead. It's just a tool. But in 2025, MAGA is a dead movement. It is, the tent got so wide that you're celebrating bombs over Iran or whatever. But it's become not even a movement, it's a Zionist state church. And that's what Ted Cruz represents. That's what Lindsey Graham represents. Trump is that golden calf. Loomer's the priestess. That's why Laura, a Zionist to the hilt Jew, why would she, if MAGA was a Christian movement, then why would a Zionist Jew support it? Because it's a Zionist, it's a Jewish movement. And that brings to a harder topic because I say Ted Cruz is effectively Jewish. MAGA is effectively Jewish, but that conflates the JQ with the Zionist. So it's a lot. But if you're getting your politics from Catherd, if you're getting your politics from Laura Loomer, you're basically following the Church of Jew. And I say that different than from a synagogue because it's a little different. Politically, it's a political synagogue. If you think Tim Pool is based and brave, then you are in a cult of Zionism. I mean, it's a feminine group. It's estrogen. I think I called it estrogen authoritarianism. It's estrogen Zionism. They are building a censorship regime based on Zionism. They're basing, other than Laura Loomer, feminine, passive, aggressive energy on tone policing all around Zionism. That's what Trump is negotiating with Harvard right now. It's all about that. It's all about this. Are you going to play in this Zionist sandbox or not? It's hyper emotional. Cat Turd is a great example. Somebody who I've never, I kind of liked, but he's just a clown. I mean, he's just emotional, no substance. He's just turned himself into, he appeals to women. It's a very woman forward movement. That's not good in politics, guys. Based on Zionist donors, Zionist money. I mean, you're almost not allowed to even say globalist with the Trump movement right now. You're almost not allowed to say media elites because it goes to that. And it all comes down to that religious question. It all comes down to basically what I started with, is that Israel is a United Nations fake globalist religion. This will be my last segment. Let's start here. And this was prompted by friend of show, homie might be wrong. I think he was asking about Christians. That's not even the point. And then it made me think, and this is an obvious take, but I never really thought about it. How many Christians do you think really exist in America? And I mean really Christian. People who fear God more than they fear media pressure. People who serve Christ, not people who serve the state of Israel. How many do you think really exist in America? They say, oh, there's a lot of Christians. No, they're not. I don't see it. If you're afraid to say that Israel, the government created in 1948, is an UN creation, it is not divine restoration. If you can't say that, you don't follow Christ. You're not Christian. You follow something else. You are effectively Jewish. You are following propaganda. Obviously, Israel started in 1947 or whatever, 48. You listen to the Dave Smith debate. They talk about this all the time. Resolution 181 divides Palestine and Israel. So started by Ben Gurion, the airport's named after him, an atheist. They declared independence for the new state of Israel. They called it Israel as a joke, as a manipulation, as subversiveness. It wasn't founded by Christian prophets. It wasn't built via covenant. Why we act like it's some special home for God's chosen people? Is this what you think? You think God's chosen people celebrate LGBTQ? God's chosen people have crooked goblin noses? God's chosen people try to censor my speech in America? God's chosen people unlive women and children? Is that what your take? God's chosen people bleed you for money nonstop? That's your take? God's chosen people think Christ is burning in a vat of excrement? That's what you think? That's literally what these people who call themselves Christian think. We can't use that term anymore. These words mean something. I don't know what I'm going to call it now. I'm not calling it Israel because it's causing a problem. I'm not calling it a vaccine because it's not, and it's causing confusion. I'm not calling you a Christian because you are not, and it's causing confusion. That's where we're at. Branding matters. Why do you think they called the country Israel? Pure deception. It is a country without Christ. It's a country without divine authority. It's a country against Christ. It's a country against divine authority. It's built on human manipulation, human power, not God. It's built on the belief of human power over God. It's built on the belief of transhumanism over God. I am transhuman. Well, this is a good thing to maybe on another time to sidetrack on. I'm transhumanist, but I don't believe transhumanism. I don't believe anything can overcome God. But they believe transhumanism does. They say it out loud. They can talk about the Old Testament all they want. A lot of these people who call themselves Christians, they don't quote the New Testament. And I ask them, why aren't you quoting the New Testament? That seems very weird to me. Because one of their takes is that eventually the country that we know now as Israel, not Israel as in the Bible, Israel, the country that we know now as Israel, they will eventually turn and look to Christ as their Lord and Savior. They say it's prophesized in the Bible. That's what these Christians believe. And I asked them, are you talking about the government that we know now? Obviously, people are going to convert, which is great. Are you talking about Israel that we know now as the government? They say yes. Just like Ted Cruz said yes. Yeah, gay pride parades are not a part of the chosen people. I don't know where you got that from. If you are without Christ, that's not acceptable. I'm not going to say, well, the Bible said, and it's incorrect. I won't want to sidetrack on that. But it's incorrect. I'm not going to say the Bible prophesies that you will come around, so you're okay. That's an Israel Jew cutout of the Bible, like modern day Jew. The Bible is clear. Either you are basically, you accept Christ or you don't. That's literally the religion. So that's the true divide. Charlie Kirk types. Charlie Kirk believes in basically the Zionist version. They're functionally Jewish. Their holy land is Tel Aviv. They go to kiss the wall. Their Messiah is the Israeli military. And their doctrine is stuff like Fox News, New York Post. That's why New York Post went against Nick Fuentes. It's really a big part of that movement is you're getting a lot of eyes, young Nick, which, I think very highly of. And he's Christian. That's concerning. They don't have power over you if you believe in a higher power. That's the problem. What's the antidote to the Jew? It's Christ. Belief in that. and trying to understand what that belief means. So that's the real problem. At the biggest core, it's not about anything else. The biggest core issue that people have with the Groypers and Nick is that he's got non-Christians listening to a Christian. And Nick will drop in a little bit. Oh, yeah. Do you know in Christianity, we're supposed to forgive these people as long as they turn to Christ? Like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, Nick isn't evil. That's very problematic for them. He's basically converting people indirectly. So I don't care how much somebody quotes the Bible. I don't care how many CPAC conventions you go to. If you can't say, or even say this, even if you can't, you don't have to agree with me. If you can't platform someone, let's use, for example, homie Carlos we've had on, homie Ray Studios we've had on, would not probably agree with everything I said here. They would have no problem platforming and having the conversation. So it's not about agreeing. I should correct myself. If you can't have open, honest, authentic discussion with somebody who agrees like that, who's not going to be unnecessarily contentious or all that, then you're not Christian. And my question for you before I look at the chat and I'm out is, how many Christians do you think exist in America? Christian says the only legit thing about the country is the Holy Land and the yes. Well, that's absolutely, that's separate from the government that's created. So it's perfect for them to conflate the two. The only legit thing about the country we're talking about Israel is the Holy Land and the descendants of the original inhabitants. But how many of that are there? I don't want to sidetrack too much, but how many of that are there? Most of these are European Jews. There are more Semitic than Jewish interlopers that showed up in 1947. Absolutely. Christian is a real one. Christian doesn't agree with everything on the channel or whatever. He has real conversation. The King James Version is still popular with a lot of evangelicals and Calvinist types, is what he said. Yep. Jeff O'Donnell, friend of the show, what's up? Says Tucker is loaded. His family comes from the Swanson dynasty. Yeah, and if you want to call somebody a Fed, that would be more on the Tucker side than anybody else. So the other topic I had, let me see if I have time. It is completely off the Jews or whatever. Or maybe it's not. You can't avoid it. I was going to talk about Ethan Klein. Okay, I'm out. I'm out before I get in trouble.